Good morning, everybody. I would like to talk to you guys about the Lindsay Clancy trial. I know everyone's hearing about it and you're probably sick of hearing about it, but you know what? We're going to talk about it, okay? Because there are so many things that aren't adding up right now. And the prosecution rested their case yesterday. And you cannot tell me they think that they have enough evidence to prove that Lindsay A killed the kids to begin with, and B that if she did do it that she was sane. We're going to be discussing some of this today. Don't mind my hair, it's 6 in the morning. Okay, so first things first. So a lot of evidence has come out, and none of it makes sense. The math isn't mathing, okay? So we're supposed to believe that Lindsay Clancy, who was a nurse for like 14 years, and it doesn't matter what kind of nurse she was a nurse, okay? She went to med school. So she knows all about the human body. So I keep feeling like I have cat hair in my mouth. She knows all about the human body. She knows where, everything is located in the human body. And yet we're supposed to believe that she Google searched the carotid artery and where it's located? Yeah, sorry, not buying that. No. Not at all. I'm not a medical professional by any means, and I know where the carotid artery is. And I know how to spell it, okay? And this brings up another point. When it was Google searched, the word carotid was spelled incorrectly. Now, Lindsay, being a nurse, would know how to spell that word, okay? Any medical professional would know how to spell that word. And yet, it was spelled incorrectly. Okay. And then, there was a Google search on how to disengage the airbags on a Kia Sorento. Now, Lindsay drove a Kia Sorento. Why would she want to turn off her airbags? That makes no sense, right? And then there was the whole Tom T. Hall thing, somebody listened to his music on Spotify, and then they clicked on his Wikipedia, and then they clicked on his cause of death, and then they went through and researched ways of killing yourself. But the funny thing is, all of this was done on Patrick's Surface Pro from his office in the house. And Lindsay wasn't home. Lindsay was at a pediatric appointment with her son, Dawson. So, how is it that she managed to Google search this stuff when she wasn't home. So she had no access to the laptop. Somebody explain this to me. And then there was also things researched on how to slice your own throat to kill yourself. Now, Lindsay would know this because she was a nurse. She wouldn't need to Google search it, okay? So that tells me right there that Patrick was up to no good while Lindsay was gone, okay? He was up to absolutely no good. And then they're talking about the searches on Lindsay's phone. And it was all kid-related stuff. Like Paw Patrol, stuff like that. She did have a few searches for, like, the medication she had been put on as well. But most of it was kid stuff. Like how to make slime and Paw Patrol and other things. I can't remember everything. What else? Okay, and then the night of January 24th, 2023, we are supposed to believe that Lindsay well, all drugged up. By the way, she had medication in her system that she was no longer taking, like Seroquel. And Seroquel knocks you on your ass, okay? In just the smallest dose. And they said she had like twice the amount that like she had been prescribed before she like was taken off of the Seroquel. But yet the Seroquel was found in her system. Lindsay would never have taken that willingly because she wasn't prescribed it anymore. B, Patrick had her meds, a bunch of her meds, in a bag in the center console of his truck that he was supposed to dispose of. So how did the medication get into Lindsay's body? Anybody mind telling me this? Because from where I'm sitting, it don't make sense. And then there is the whole thing with her suicide attempt. Now, she's a nurse, again. So she would know how to do it properly if she wanted to. Okay? We'll start with the crushed pills, okay? She was a nurse, so she would know that if she wanted to kill herself, she would know not to crush pills and put it in the lemonade because, one, the pills aren't going to be effective because the acid from the lemonade is going to make the pills ineffective. And two, if you want to off yourself using medication, you just put a bunch of pills in your hand, throw them in your mouth, and there you go. And she'd know this. She was a nurse. She was like, I think she was a nurse for like 14 years. So she would know all this. And then there's the whole thing with the slicing of her wrists. Now again, I'm going to remind you one more time, she was a nurse, okay? She would know which way to cut to effectively kill herself. She would not cut sideways, she would cut up and down, because that's where the veins are. But the cuts weren't up and down. they were going across. See, Patrick wasn't a medical professional, so he wouldn't know this. And then the whole thing with slicing of her neck. Okay, let's get into that. Lindsay was a right-handed person, okay? And as any right-handed person knows, if you were going to off yourself by way of slicing your own throat, you would not go right to left. You just wouldn't, okay? Because that would be awkward, and I don't think that you'd be able to actually finish yourself doing that. And the way that she was cut, the way her throat was sliced, went, instead of going left to right, the way a right-handed person would do, it went right to left, the way a left-handed person would do. Well, guess who's left-handed? Patrick. This, again, tells us that Patrick did it, okay? I am going to give you all my opinion on what happened that night. And I'm not saying it's right, like, not saying it's spot on, but any way that it happened, Patrick did it. There's no way Lindsay could have. Because with the medications that she had in her body, it's just not plausible. It's just not. One more thing before we get into my theory. The injuries that she sustained from going out the window. I'm not going to say she jumped because she didn't jump. I know she did not swan dive out that window. Because her injuries don't even match up to that scenario at all. All of her ribs are broken. Okay? All of her ribs were broken. She crushed her thyroid. And I believe her windpipe was damaged because she couldn't talk. And she couldn't breathe because she was put on a ventilator, I believe, at the hospital. And her ribs were all broken, and her spine was crushed. If she threw herself out that window, she would have had to land on her head for most of that to happen. And the way she landed was not on her head, she landed on her back. Her back. And she wasn't facing the way that she should have. If she took a swan dive out the window, she would have been facing the opposite way. And she would have been face down. She was on her back, facing upward. And she was toward the house instead of away from the house. And there was blood going down the siding of the house. Like she was trying to save herself. Okay. Now we're going to get into my theory. So, Patrick had a girlfriend. We all know this. He's married to her now. She lived in New York City, still does. Her name's Rachel. Patrick was making a lot of trips to New York City, and he was claiming they were business trips. Yeah, business. Sure. Patrick was ashamed of Lindsay's mental health problems. And you can tell on the stand that he was. Because he's so condescending whenever he talks about it. He acts like he's ashamed and just, he acts like a complete and total asshole when it comes to talking about Lindsay having, like, anxiety about going back to work after having each one of her children. And by the way, I'm a mom, and I'm going to tell you, after having a child, every mother, no matter how many kids she has, every mother hates being separated from her child. Okay? They do. It's just human nature. It's part of being a mom. I know men don't get it because men don't carry the babies, okay? Men don't give birth to the babies. Men don't have the maternal bond that women have with their children. So, here is my theory. I think Patrick was sick of Lindsay's mental health problems. I think that he no longer wanted to be a husband or a father, for that matter. I think that before he went out to run his errands, I think that he brought Dawson and Cora down to the basement, and I think he would have had to help Lindsay upstairs to the bedroom, because again, she had so many drugs in her system, she wouldn't have been able to function at all. And I think he tried to kill her. I think he sliced her throat and her wrists and left her to bleed. And then I think he locked her in the room. And then I think he went down to the basement. I think the little one, Callan, was sleeping. So I think Patrick temporarily forgot about Callan. But I think he went down to the basement and he strangled Cora and Dawson. And then I think that he went out to CVS. CVS was only 3 minutes away from the house. He went to CVS. He had Lindsay's Apple Watch with him. And he made a fake phone call to her. And then he ended said call. And then he called himself back using Lindsay's watch. And he let it be dead air for 14 seconds. And then he ended that call, so that it would look like he spoke to Lindsay. And then I think he went back to the house, thinking that Lindsay would be dead. She wasn't. And that's when I think baby Callan started crying. And I think he threw Lindsay out that window. And then he went and he strangled baby Callan. And then after that, he changed his clothes. He got back in the car. And he went to the restaurant. And he picked up food. And he thought, by the time he got back to the house from the restaurant, that Lindsay would be dead. And I think that he was shocked when he got home and Lindsay was still alive. I do not believe his timeline of events. I believe it went down exactly like that. I believe he fucked around for a little bit, trying to buy time, hoping Lindsay would die before he called 911. And when she didn't, I think he made up the story about how he couldn't call because Wi-Fi problems, whatever. And we all know Lindsay couldn't talk because of the damage done to her throat. I think he made up the story about Lindsay telling him, I mean, he obviously made up the story of Lindsay telling him that she killed the kids, because how could she? She couldn't speak. He came up with that story, and when the cops arrived and paramedics arrived, and he had to come up with the story, and he told the story. Oh, she told me she killed the kids, and she told me they were in the basement. Because remember, he also lied on the stand and said that he was giving CPR to the children. But the EMTs, when they got on the stand, said that Patrick was doing no such thing. He was sitting on the couch just staring at them when they arrived. And the EMTs also testified that Lindsay could not speak when they got there. She could barely breathe. All she could do was moan in pain. And the doctors at the hospital said the same thing when they testified. So, how are we to believe that Lindsay did all this? Because I ain't buying it. Not at all. I'm smarter than that. I just am. I think Patrick wanted a clean slate. I think he wanted to make it look like Lindsay killed the kids and then killed herself, but he didn't count on Lindsay surviving. And when she did, it wrecked his plans. Patrick started a GoFundMe after the children died. He claimed it was going to be used for their funerals and Lindsay's medical costs. It wasn't. He cremated the children. And then he took off with the rest of the money. Or took off with all the money, because I heard that he had life insurance on the kids, and that's how he cremated them. But yeah, the GoFundMe raised over $1 million, and it was supposed to be used to bury the children. And that's exactly what it said, too. For their funeral costs and for Lindsay's medical costs. The money never went toward any of it. He took the money and ran. After he cremated the children, he took the money and he ran. He divorced Lindsay. He sold the house. And he moved to New York City to be with his mistress. And a month after, because he moved away 4 months later, 4 months after they died, is when he moved to New York City. And a month after that, he and his mistress took a trip to Costa Rica. You can look it up. This is all facts. And it just doesn't make sense. When you see him on the stand, he doesn't look like a grieving father. He doesn't even act like he knows anything about his children at all. Kevin Reddington was asking him about, like, the kids' rooms. And he had no idea. Like, he had no idea about, like, the artwork, or he had no idea, like, when he was questioned about, like, the kids' interests and everything, he had no idea. He had to be pushed because the prosecutor asked him about, like, the kids', like, interests. And he had to be pushed and prodded because all he said was gymnastics. And then he finally came up with swimming, skiing. He's a horrible person. He's a horrible, horrible person. He's a covert narcissist. You can see it in his eyes. And I'm betting his new wife, I'm betting she knows something about everything. I also think his best friend does too. Because his best friend, shockingly enough, showed up at the house right after the murders took place. Right after Patrick called 911. Yeah, nothing sus about that, is there? And yesterday, after the prosecution rested their case, the prosecutor was caught on a hot mic. I think she was talking to the other prosecutor, the assistant DA, whatever. But she was talking to somebody on a hot mic, and she said, "You don't really think he did it, do you?" Talking about Patrick. They know their case is cooked. They know Lindsay didn't do it. They know Patrick did. They know they got the wrong person. This is going to end in a mistrial. Lindsay's life is ruined. Her credibility was ruined. And that's why Patrick could use her as a scapegoat. But Patrick is now seeing that his plan is unraveling. He's not going to get away with it, and he knows it. And now, if she didn't need a psychiatric hospital before, she's going to need one for the rest of her life now. Because Lindsay's life is ruined now. She will never have her children, thanks to Patrick. She'll never walk again, thanks to Patrick. She will never know happiness again, thanks to Patrick. He took everything from her. Everything. And now, oh yeah, Patrick lawyered up too. The other day. I think it's like last Thursday. He lawyered up. He knows. He knows. He knows his goose is cooked. He's going away because that jury, they're going to see through everything. They're going to see through everything, and it's going to end up in a mistrial. Or an acquittal. And before you all say, oh, she already admitted to it. No, she didn't. Because she couldn't talk. And the only one that said that they heard her admit to it was Patrick. And if you're going to say, oh, well, her lawyer said it. No, he didn't. Kevin Reddington never said that she admitted to anything in his opening statement. You all need to get better with comprehension skills, because he didn't say that. His words were that they are going to listen to the prosecutor, and they are going to watch them bring out all of their evidence that shows that she knows, she being Lindsay, that she killed the kids. So, in other words, they're going to watch them bring out evidence that is supposed to prove to everybody that Lindsay knows that she killed her children. He never said Lindsay admitted it. As a matter of fact, At the arraignment, she was in the hospital, Lindsay was. And she pleaded not guilty. Look it up. Y'all better have your facts straight, because y'all got me shocked. When this case is over, because Lindsay is not going to be found guilty of anything. The only thing she's guilty of was trying to get help for her postpartum and trying to be a good mom and a good wife. But with a narcissistic husband, that was fucking impossible. I believe he drugged her. I believe he made her think she was crazy. I really do. Because when she had the short hospital stay and she was away from him, everybody said, even Lindsay admitted that she was doing a little better. Then she went home to him. Not all abuse is physical. I believe he psychologically abused her. I believe he emotionally abused her. I believe he didn't want her on medication. I believe he didn't want her getting help, because he is one of them people that believes that mental illness is something to be ashamed of. Lindsay and them children deserve so much better. They really did. They deserved so much better. And now them children will never see another birthday. They will never know the love of their mom. Lindsay will never hear the laughter of her children. She'll never get to see them grow up. Because Patrick took all that from her. Like I said, if she didn't need a psychiatric hospital before, I think it's safe to say she's going to need one for the rest of her life now. Because I don't think that poor woman will ever know happiness again. I really, really hope and pray for real justice to be served here. I think we all need a little hope right now. Lindsay's not guilty. Lindsay did not kill those children. Lindsay did not try to kill herself. And the only reason nobody investigated Patrick was because Patrick's uncle was the chief of police at the time. I don't know if he still is, but he was. And Patrick was friends with the former DA. There's pictures online to prove that. That's a fact. And the former DA also bought the house from Patrick. There's proof of that too. You can Google it. There's some facts for you all to chew on for now. If you want to know more, watch the trial. That's what I've been doing. See, I'm not no TikTok investigator. I don't listen to shit online. I've been paying attention to the trial and I've been forming my own conclusions. It's not rocket science. If you have common sense, it's easy to see what's really going on here. Women have been ignored too long. Society ignores women. They treat women like they're crazy when women are saying that, like, they have something wrong with them. And they know something's off with them. especially when it comes to mental health. We are dismissed. We are told we are okay. We are exaggerating. We are told, go home and hug your babies. Find a hobby. Go for a walk. Take yourself out and do something nice for yourself. Go out to eat. Practice self-care. Postpartum is a real thing. It's time people start taking it seriously. And narcissistic abuse is a real thing. It's time people start looking into Patrick. He needs to be investigated. His phone needs to be taken from him and looked through. Because he's guilty as fuck. Us women will not shut up anymore. We will not keep quiet. We will not make people comfortable with our silence. We're going to start speaking out. This shit's gone on too long. I pray for justice for Lindsay. And I pray for the souls of her sweet children whose lives were taken too soon. And I pray that Patrick is arrested, prosecuted, tossed into prison, and then I hope when he dies, he burns in hell. That's all I gotta say for now.